Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business. I'm your host, Julie Fairhurst. I have a lovely, very interesting lady today, and I wish that I had talked to her 20, 30 years ago, and you'll know why when we start getting into our conversation. So today I'm welcoming Dr. Carla Caturia, an educator, a life coach, and the heart behind the House of Rise. Dr. Carla has spent more than 20 years in education, working with students and families as a teacher, assistant principal, high school leader, and college professor. And today we're going to talk about what teens are carrying, why so many families feel disconnected, and how parents can support their children without adding more pressure, fear, or overwhelm. So, welcome, Dr. Carla. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is going to be a fantastic time together. So thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's start with um, a little about your story and what led you from educating into coaching teens and families.
Yeah, I think I was a coach for 20 years. It just wasn't, coaching wasn't a thing. It was called mentoring, guidance, of course. So
Yeah.
what I really made me step into the coaching business per se, I was really hesitant to. Because I know a lot of people are, like it became a big thing and it was like everyone's a coach. And I'm like, oh no, like I don't know if I want to do this. But I started hiring coaches for specific things, whether it be relationships or business or things like that. And I was like, oh wow, this actually really works. Like these frameworks work, the micro habits and all the things that I'm learning, and I'm getting rid of limiting beliefs. Oh boy. So I said, I really have to do this for kids because this is really what they're missing. They get their academics, but emotional intelligence, like
Mhm.
where is it? And
Right.
that's what really pushed me because it worked for me. So I was like, I really want to share this with other people.
Oh, fabulous. Well, when I say that I needed you 20, 30 years ago, I did. I raised three boys on my own. Oh, deep breath. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just speechless,
Yes.
speechless.
Okay. So when you look at today's teenagers, what do you think they're carrying that their parents may not fully see?
Yeah, I think that they are carrying a lot of societal pressure, and I think it's a lot that they're putting on themselves, comparison and yes, social media plays a role, but even the kid sitting next to you in class and or the person on the cheerleading team or whatever it might be. So I think there's a lot of comparison. I think there's a lot of like, I'm not good enough. It's like
Mm,
the thing that we're seeing, and we all humans feel that. I think there's a lot of anxiety and overwhelm to reach certain achievements. I think a lot of people ask me what's different about kids today. It's the same things that you and I were going through. It might be packaged slightly different.
right.
So yeah, the same kind of pressures that we were putting on ourselves and that our parents were unintentionally putting on us as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, Dr. Carla, I understand that you work with high achieving teens. So, what does that pressure look like for them behind the scenes?
Yeah, I kind of call it like the success without self cycle.
Ah,
So achievement really becomes who they are, it's their identity. And they're placing a lot of that pressure on themselves, or fear of disappointing others, or their perfectionism. And they just have this like good kid image, which is fantastic to be a good kid. Yet it becomes that just like their performance might increase, but their self trust decreases. So they might be
um,
successful, busy, productive, all the thing. Oh, you're so responsible, all of these things. Yet underneath it all, they're overthinking. They have a lot of anxiety. They're shutting down emotionally, and there's just so much going on underneath the surface, excuse me. And that's when you see them just burn out, or realize later in life, like I did, oh my gosh, this who am I? What am I even doing? And do I even want to do this anymore? So I
right.
think there's a lot more under the surface because they seem well adjusted on the outside.
Wow, interesting. Well, why do you think so many teens shut down or pull away from their parents, even when the parent is trying to help?
I think it might be a couple different things. I think one, just basically my parents don't know what I'm going through. That's, I mean, I thought it,
Yeah.
you thought it,
Yeah.
even though we lived it, it doesn't matter.
No.
And I think it's also the parent's approach. The parent is being kind, being, like they're doing all the things, yet oftentimes parents um, see their kids struggle, they try to fix it for their kid, and then the kid has no autonomy. They feel like they have no control, and then there's conflict. So oftentimes parents think they need to push to motivate or to step in and they really kind of got to step out. And it's not intentional. I want to push my child away, but at that point, you have to give them more responsibility and autonomy. You have to give them, choice. You have to potentially just listen to them. Even though we always say, "Oh, I'm
Mm,
listening to them," I know. Oftentimes, we're already thinking how we're going to respond to them before they even finish what they're saying.
yeah.
And it's a matter of just asking your kid, like, do you want feedback? Do you want me to help you figure something out here? Do you want me to just listen to you and you just had a bad day and you just need to get it out? Or, do you want me to celebrate this awesome thing that just happened to you? And then they'll tell you what they need because we think we know what they need, but we don't necessarily know in that moment.
No, no, you're right. You're right. And and asking them, I mean, I would never have thought to say, well, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to help? Do you want me, what do you need from me? Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because our automatic trigger, I mean, like when they were a baby, they cried, so you changed their diaper, you
Right.
gave them food. So it's just like I know what they need every moment. But then they start to grow up and they're becoming their own person, and it is difficult. Completely get it for parents to let go, but it's
Yeah.
difficult. But maybe they need to fail that test, or they need to break up with that boyfriend, or whatever needs to happen, and you're there to support. Yet they need to go through the experience. Yeah.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Well, what do you think the biggest mistake that well-meaning parents make when their teen is struggling?
Mm. Yeah. The biggest mistake, I think, whether their kid is struggling or not, I think the biggest, it's more like a trap parents get stuck into is that not taking care of themselves. And I know that seems like I didn't answer your question, but the point is if so I'm a coach and I structure my day so I have a slow morning and I work out in the morning and so that I'm really good to go midday and nighttime for my clients. Like I'm ready. So I didn't always do that. I was running, waking up at 5 in the morning, working till 10 p.m. at night, like the disaster. So I had to figure that
Mm,
out. And the same thing with parents. It's if you can't take 4 hours a day to work out, understood, but are you taking a half hour to yourself to get some cardio? Are you, taking care of yourself and eating well? Are you, if you had a stressful day at work, did you kind of give yourself take a break before you came in and yelled at everybody? Whatever it might be, it is you're not responsible for your kids' emotions and they're not responsible for yours. So it's just everyone taking their responsibility for themselves and their thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
yeah, so
Yeah.
really, really so important. And I believe that if we take care of ourselves, we're better mothers, better friends, better wives, better people in society. But when
Mm-hmm.
but we as women, we just want to give, 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 give.
Mm-hmm. A
Not
hundred
always the
percent.
best. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have nothing left for yourself, and then you've lost yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about resilience,
Mm,
identity, and self-confidence, and as you
mm,
mentioned earlier, emotional intelligence. So which
mm-hmm.
one do you think the teens need most right now?
I think it's so those are kind of my pillars of my business, and I think that it's all connected. So just, to regulate your emotions comes first. Soon as you can, you know, as soon as you can regulate, and if you get angry, know that it's a passing emotion and not hang on to it, and so on and so forth. As soon as you can do that, you have started to take your power back. Once you take your power back, you start to feel more confident. As you feel more confident, you take risks and you realize, oh, I can do hard things. I become resilient.
Mm,
And
mm,
now I've stepped into my next identity. So to answer your question, they all go together and they need them all. A lot of kids, you'd say, oh, my kid's confident. But then you realize, well, maybe in these three areas, but not in these other four areas. Or so, it really works for everyone. It just depends upon their strengths and weaknesses that they come to me
Yeah.
with. Hmm.
And and yeah, and that makes sense because you might see your child as being so confident in those areas that you just naturally think they're confident with everything that comes along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I've had like a lot of kids, oh, the boys are they're athletes, they're great, all this, and they're super confident and they come to me because they can't talk to girls. Or, so and it's
Yeah.
not it's embarrassing. They don't want to
Yeah.
and it's just like, look, this is a safe
Yeah.
space, and let's figure this out for you so you can, go talk to her.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what
Yeah.
does emotional intelligence look like in a teenager?
I mean, yeah, emotional intelligence looks like it really in anyone. I think it's starting with, um, you know, like I said, really what you want to eventually do is step into your authentic self. So if I have emotional intelligence, that means one, I'm able to tap into what I feel is right for me, what is the best for me to do in a certain situation. Um, to be able to know that not to make decisions just based on my emotions. There's a lot of aspects to it because it's kind of one of those broad terms. And it also means taking skills and strategies and such as like meditation or somatic things and just really if you're emotionally intelligent, you know yourself, you live authentically, and you're able to handle all aspects of yourself to the best of your ability. And it's always going to grow and change and shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a broad one. Yeah.
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 Well, what about parents who maybe they like how does a parent teach emotional intelligence if they've never been taught it themselves? Or
Well,
can
that's the
they?
thing. Right.
Yeah.
So we parent like we were parented. So like we know, so
Right.
I had a great mom. She's awesome. I don't have kids myself, but would I do some of the same things she did? Sure. Would I change some other things? Right. Maybe not. So I think a lot of parents, you could do one of two things. They just parent just like they were parented, or they overcompensate, like they didn't have such and such a thing. So they want to make sure their kid has all of these things, fill in the blank, whatever it is, love or items or activities. So the best thing parents can do is to work on themselves. So you're never going to be a perfect parent. You're never going to have all the answers. You've already made a billion mistakes and it is what it is. Yet like if you want to tell your kids that that the values in our house are that we value health and wellness, but then you're eating chips and watching Netflix and telling them to go out and work out, so
Yeah.
so the best thing you can do is work on yourself, become the best you can be, and to then model for your kids the behaviors that you want to see. Like, you can't be at the table, everybody's on their phone and then saying like, oh, the family never gets along, we can't connect.
Yeah.
So I think no parent or person is perfect, but like being on that journey with your kid, hopefully a step ahead, but it's as long as you're
Yeah.
on that journey and you're open to it, it's going to work because it can't just be the teen. That's why I work with the whole family. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And even for myself, when I was raising my boys, when they were in trouble, I had to look around at what was going on because it's not just them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of mothers feel really guilty and they
Mm.
might be wondering, did I do something? What do you think?
Hmm.
Did they?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that whole thought is, just shifting from blame
Mhm.
and out of that blame because ultimately like everything happens for a reason. You
Yeah.
think you have control over everything, but you really don't.
Yeah.
You made the best decision you could in that moment with the tools that you had. It you know last year I made certain decisions that I said I can't believe I would have made that decision this year or yesterday or a week ago, but now I have new information. So I think when
Yes.
we have a lot of guilt, we have to shift to giving ourselves a lot of grace because we again we did the best that we could. If we intentionally did something on purpose, okay, that's a different story. But honestly,
Right.
99% of the time, it is not the case. You've
Yeah.
done what you thought was going to be the safest or the best, or make your kid the happiest, and um, so it isn't. it isn't something that they have to carry, but there are ways to release some of those emotions so that
Mm.
you can not hold that baggage and carry that guilt with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's just for understanding that you can do better, forgiving yourself and just moving on.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
It takes time, it takes work. I mean, we're
Yeah.
sitting here saying like just let it go.
Yeah.
And that is, yes, that is the ultimate goal. If you can let it go a little bit each day, by the end of
Mm.
the week you're going to be better. By the end of the month,
Yeah.
by then, so
Yes.
and that comes to just rewiring your brain and just focusing on, just being grateful for the fact that you are able to make a decision in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
What do
Hmm.
we do as parents with a teen? We think there's a problem, but we speak to them about it, and all we ever get is, I'm fine, when clearly they're not fine. What do we do? How can we get them to open up?
Yeah. So a lot of parents do that, and a lot of teens do that. And it's interesting because a lot of parents will reach out to me, and then I'm like, okay, let's meet. I'll meet your kid, all this. And they're like, oh, they don't want to. And then they just ghost. And I'm like, well, you just asked them once, and they just, you're like, okay, we're done. So I think the communication obviously is what you're talking about, and that's key. Um, at times, is it that they really just don't want to talk? Yeah, they really need a moment. They need some space. Fair enough. But I think the first thing is always validating their emotions. So, and what the things that I'm saying don't make you weak as a parent, don't mean you still don't say no, this is final and make decisions.
Yeah.
Yet, in certain situations, if they're feeling a certain way and they can't get past that emotion, like no matter what you say or do, it's not going to sink in, it's just going to cause conflict. So just validating, like that sounds really frustrating, or I can see why you're upset, just some, or just tell me more about that. Just some sort of, and again, that if they're just shutting down and they're running into the room, there's things we have to work on. But if they are standing there talking to you, you can, just validate, like, or even later, like, hey, when you got home, you went in the room and you wouldn't talk to me. I just want to make sure, that, and just open it up to them. And if they still don't answer, you just keep trying, just opening it up,
Mhm.
because that's very important. And having that safe space for them to communicate with you. So oftentimes it's sharing, maybe not in that moment, but sharing maybe like a challenge you had and how you got over it, or being vulnerable with them. And the only way they're going to be vulnerable with you is if you do the same. So if you kind of go in your room and shut down, and then they go, then obviously nobody's communicating. But if you're modeling that for them too, that makes a big difference. So
Mhm.
um, I think, but yeah, I mean, in the teen years, a lot of kids, are doing what you're saying, and a lot of kids also aren't doing what you're saying. There's half of them just go in the room and want to go on their
Yeah.
phone, and half of them don't. So, but yeah, it's just like being there for them, validating their emotions. Just, hey, I'm here to listen, and you know, you might have to wait till they come around.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you think some of the crucial signs are that a teen is overwhelmed?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I think kids mask it. Well, one, I mean, you can just tell by like a lot of kids I work with in upper like upperclassmen, just the level of like staying up all night, studying, doing a job, a club, a sport,
Mm.
um, taking extra classes. Like you can just that alone, and being like, no, no, I can handle it. And I mean, when they're just overloaded, and that just becomes like what their worth is, and they can't let it go. They can't let it go. So you're gonna see like that. You're gonna see literally like what you were saying before, whether they close the door, or they're short with you, or just any kind of like emotional blocks per se. I think also just like a lack of balance.
Mm.
as well as maybe you know, like doing just to do, not for
Mm,
a purpose. Um,
mhm.
like I have to do all these things, whatever it might be. And you're just like, do you really have to? Like what is the why are you doing all these things? And then if
Right.
you're able to explain to me and it's moving me towards this goal or that goal, okay. But I think having to if you see a lot of times a good antidote is exercise. I mean, I have a lot of kids that do not exercise, even though I'd work with a lot of athletes. And that's a huge because they just get caught in their heads and they're stuck in their
Yes.
heads and not in their bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. Movement is just great advice. Yeah. Well, what about social media? I know that's a can of worms,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
there's a lot of I've got nieces as well, and I find my
Hmm.
nieces went through this more than my nephews did. But comparison and achievement culture, I find
Yep.
there's so many times I can remember my nieces and nephews, well, not nephews, nieces crying over
Oh
something
yeah.
on social media. So how do you handle that as a parent?
Yeah, yeah. And I get a lot of, like you're saying, more so girls on that end. And by social media, we're including Snapchat and WhatsApp groups and all that because
Yes,
it isn't just the TikTok or Instagram. And
right.
yeah, no, it is difficult. I mean, it's very similar to when you and I grew up. I'm not, I didn't have social media, but I'm comparing to a magazine or a TV show or something like that,
Right.
right? So it's the same core, I don't love myself. I'm not enough. I'm not pretty. All this. So I think a lot of it's, seeing that. And then the comparison is the thief of joy. You've heard that. And then kicks in the negative self talk like, well, if only my hair looked like this, or if only that, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think there's the other aspect of social media that, like, there is a disagreement on Friday in school. It could be a fight. It doesn't have to be a fight. But then you and I went to school and it went away and everybody forgot about it over the weekend. But
Yes.
now that you have social media, it's comments and likes and posts and video, and it just doesn't end. So I
Yeah.
think navigating that, and I think from day one, if you are going to have phones in your house, because I know a lot of parents that limit that they're very strict about it, and it works. Like you think it won't work. I mean, if you've given your kid the phone since 5 years old, then no, it's not going to work. But if
Yeah.
you have been, if you've
Yeah.
been strict throughout, it does work. And when you do release that responsibility to them, it's making sure that you're friends with them on all the social media, sharing with them and showing them how to appropriately and like positively build an online resume. Because a lot of my kids that have graduated are on LinkedIn, we're friends on LinkedIn. I can see all the things they're doing. So it's not all bad. It's just
No.
knowing your kid and at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, can they handle this responsibility?
Hmm.
And if you don't think they can handle it, I don't care how much they're crying it's going to be a lot worse when you give it to them if you're not putting those parameters in place. Um,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
can be a great tool. It can be a great tool.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
What about anxiety? There seems to be a
Mm.
lot of anxiety out there these days.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I think a little bit of anxiety is good. I think if you get upset or you get anxious, you care about what's happening. If I'm anxious before the test, it means like, did I study enough? So that's a good thing. We want a
Yes.
little bit of that. And I think some of that is good. I think some of that, sometimes we overuse the term as well. And I think sometimes anxiety is sometimes feels very similar to excitement. And
Mm.
that also can be like, I'm like, are you really excited right now or are you anxious? Like, are you just telling me? And then they're kind of like realize, oh, maybe I was like a little bit excited. And to your point, there is also like intense anxiety, and that is truly a thing. So I think it comes down to that, you know, emotional regulation. And if I'm having a negative thought, like I am in control of it. I am in control of my mind. I can rewire it. I can think differently. I don't think those are things that we learned or were taught. It's kind of like society says a test is coming up, so I'm stressed and I study and I get stressed out. Like that's just what's presented to
Yeah.
us. It's just the same thing as if like the girl on social media, this is what you're supposed to look like. So it's just like, can you imagine a world where you actually took a test and didn't get stressed? Yeah, like I've done that before. And you can do that. And you can, instead of saying, what if I fail? What if I do well? What if I do better than I thought I was going to do?
Hmm.
So there's the mindset shift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the parents' role in their own nervous system playing? Like what does that play in the home?
Yeah. I mean, that's where they learn it from.
Mm.
So I mean, it's just a
It's
fact. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you're super anxious and, like it's just gonna pour out to your little ones. And so that's, and I work with parents that, oftentimes like, oh, I'm a strong personality. This is just the way I am. It is the way you are. I don't want you to change who you are. Yet I know there's a more healthier way for you to live and then for you to then pass on to your children. So yeah, it does come from parents. All your beliefs, not all, but 90% of them come from, your parents when you were a kid. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's where we
Yeah.
learn. That's where we learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, what kind of practical things do you suggest that parents do to bond with their teen?
Mm. Yeah, I think sometimes it's as simple as going for a walk. I've even had people say, like, we just like to sit in the same room and hang out. So it may have been when they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, you're going to the science museum and they're so excited and it just looks different, but sometimes it's just basic. Sometimes it's just doing something or listening to them talk about something that you don't love, but they do. So it's
Mhm.
like, you know, I don't really love that video game. It's kind of like silly. I don't know, whatever, but that's them sharing their world with you and just being
Yes.
open to that. And I think, it looks different. And I think, not lowering expectations, but I think just having different expectations. Like, I mean, I have brothers and I know one brother acts this way, one's this way. Like, I'm, and just meet them where they're at. I know I can talk about these things with this brother and these things with that brother, and it's okay. So, yeah, it is going to be different, and you are going to kind of come in second after friends. That's just that's
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah.
That's where their heart is right now. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. I'm in Canada, and in Canada, they're talking about our federal government's talking about banning social media for kids under 16. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they did it in a couple other countries. I want to say Spain and Australia.
Australia, for sure. Yeah.
Australia for sure. I heard Spain. I don't know if it actually happened. Yeah, I mean, I guess how do you know? I think like, we also ban vaping and cigarettes and you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and you get it at the gas station. So I don't know how that would be policed per se.
Hmm.
I think that's a smart thing as far as like age and responsibility level and can you handle it? I think yes, that makes sense. But are they going to give like sightings or tickets or like how to I guess I don't know. I think coming from the education world, there's so many initiatives and let's do the and it's just like awesome. And is it going to be done with fidelity? So I guess I think I like the idea of it, practicality wise. I really think it should be on the family to figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I have a 14-year-old granddaughter, and I asked my son, what are you going to do? Because, she has a phone and she's on social media. And he said, well, I guess I'm going to make her a fake. I'm going to make her a fake profile.
Account. Right.
And then he said, I wish they'd mind their own business and let me parent my daughter the way I want to parent my daughter. And he said,
Right.
in our house, we don't have an issue.
Correct. Right. That's why, yeah, like I said, it's really should be by family.
Yeah,
Like I said, I like the idea of protecting children and
for
yes,
sure.
but again, yeah, like how are you going to police that? He's going to make a fake account. He's not a bad person. He's just, like if that's
Yeah,
what he wants for his child and she
yeah,
goes on whatever she goes on,
yeah,
then
yeah,
who am I to say that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
think,
yeah.
yeah.
I just think parents should be able to make those decisions. I don't know. Sometimes I think that, well, I don't want to get into the government, but sometimes I just think people like it's too reaching sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely believe in, like socially, you should
Mm.
be able to do what you want to do socially. The
Yeah.
government isn't there to police my social life. And that's not
Right.
just social media, but like, like
Yes.
my activities and who I hang out with. And it just
Right.
falls into that for me as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's a story from your work that reminds you why your work matters so much?
Oh, hmm. Like a transformation story.
Yeah.
Because those are the best. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so many kids that have done such great things I'm so proud of. And I really can't take credit. I'm just there guiding them.
Mhm.
But I do see I think it just be it so to your examples earlier, we're talking about girls on social media and they are kind of getting in trouble at school and there was all these I hate to just throw the word bullying around, but it was like,
Yeah.
online bullying problems. And they come to me,
Yes.
and now it's like, I'm still working with her. It's like 18 months later. And this girl, she's like, I don't have time for anybody. I block them. Like, there's just like that issue
Mhm.
is just so dead. She's like a completely unrecognizable person. Or like the boy I spoke about earlier, he dated his first girl. It was crisis mode. We were on the calls all the time because it didn't work out how he thought it was going to work out. And now I see him and he's much more well adjusted and able to uh, not put all of his eggs in one basket. And
Yeah.
he has really grown as far as his self-worth is concerned. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, there's a lot of great transformations.
Yeah.
And just believing in themselves, and knowing that they can do hard things. Because a lot of
Yeah.
high achievers, it's
Yeah.
tough for them to do hard things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's great. Like I've never spoken to anyone that was a coach for teenagers. I've
Mm,
spoken to therapists, and I think
mm.
there's a big difference. And so what do you do to help teens? Like, can you give us a little bit of an idea of what you do
Yeah, like
or
I'll
your
share a quick.
process?
Yeah, for sure. I'll share a quick story because I met with a family and dad was all in and mom was like, "You're very nice. This is wonderful." Yet he's not going to do it. Their child. I've done therapists before. All this, he didn't like it. And so then I was like, well, let's just give it a try. So I got on the call with him, and by the end of it, I was like, so what did you like about this? What surprised you? And he was like, oh my gosh, I want to start doing this right away. I want to work with you. And this is not to make you think that I'm so great, but it's just to show like he's like when I was working with the other person, it was, I just felt so insecure. They were telling me, what I should do and this and that. And I just basically listened to him. I asked, I had a series of questions I was asking him,
Yeah.
but he's like, you listen to me. I love this. So I think part of it is
Mhm.
the rapport that I build with others, but also like as far as what I do versus what a therapist might do is I don't dwell on the negatives or the problems. Do you need to share them with me so we can work on them? Absolutely. But it's more of a because I believe the more we complain, that's what we get more of in our life. So we
I
don't time
believe that too.
we don't have time for that, right? I mean,
Yes.
are there days? Yeah, there's days I feel crappy. Got it. But I think with the kids that I'm coming to, it's more of like, okay, I'm not here to fix you. You don't have a problem. That's not what we're talking about here. You
Mhm.
are who you are right now. Like you're coming to me as such and such a person. I'm meeting you where you're at. What do you want to work on? I know what your parents want you to work on, and we will do those things, like of course. But
Yeah.
how do you see yourself? Where do you want to go with
Mm.
this? And I think they really own it. They feel like empowered by it. And I think
Yes.
they enjoy like leveling up. It's basically leveling up.
Yeah.
It feels good for them to perform at their peak performance as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
With a lot of my kids, we talk about flow and we talk about creativity and how can we stay in that zone. And
Yeah.
it's awesome versus like, like, what are you so sad about or upset about? It's just like, ooh. So I think kids
Yeah.
thrive on that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, I just want everyone to know that I'm going to have all of Dr. Carla's information in the show notes. So if you want to reach out to her, you want to get on her website, you want to check her out on social media, we will have ways that you can reach out to her. And for whatever reason that you want to. She's
Mhm.
obviously, I think she's very good at what she does. I can tell. I can tell. So I'd like to ask you,
Oh.
what do you want every teen to know about themselves?
Mm. Yeah, that they're not alone. They're just like everybody else. You think that your problems are unique to you, like we said earlier, like your parents don't understand it, or
Yeah.
and honestly, if you are reaching out for help and support, um, I kind of relate it to sports. Like if you go to a basketball game, is there any team out there that doesn't have a coach? No, like every team has a coach.
Yes.
So why is it such a problem for you to have a coach for your mind? You're going to go out and play that sport or do that dance or cheerlead or whatever you do. Even in play chess, you have somebody showing you how to do it.
Yes.
So it isn't a problem to reach out and say, like, I just need some help with the way I'm thinking or I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's right. There are coaches for so many things out there. Why
Mm-hmm.
not for our minds
Mm-hmm.
and to help us be more successful
Mm-hmm.
in life, right?
It's gonna be uncomfortable. Fair.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but so is sprinting and so is other things. So
That's right. Yeah.
yeah,
I'd rather
yeah.
talk to you than sprint. That's just me.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed the conversation, and I've learned some stuff that I'm going to pass along to a few of my brothers and children to with their kids. So, but great, absolute great information for parents, great information for teens. If a parent is listening today and they could
Mhm.
change just one thing in the way that they approach their teen, what would that one thing be?
I would say I would one like to leave them with what we said earlier, having grace for themselves, because if they have a high achieving teen, they're probably a perfectionist themselves and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I would like to leave them with is meet them where they're at.
Mm,
Yes, you see them you see their potential, you see them where you want them to be, and you address them in that way. You know, talk to them as if they're at that next level
yeah.
and, meet them where they're at. And it's okay. They're going to get there. A little support never hurt, but, you got this, you
I
know?
think that is I think that's such great advice. Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like instead of trying to change them or trying to just
Hmm.
because isn't that what we all need? Just to be met where we are.
Yeah. Meet them where they're
Yeah.
at and we'll get them to where
Yeah.
we need them to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. Well, Dr. Carla, thank you so much for being on this episode of Women Like Me. And I just know that there's going to be lots of my audience is mainly women, but I believe women are the glue. So if we can get healthier and do things better, then the whole family benefits from us. So
Hmm.
so I'm hoping that a lot of women in my community will be able to watch this and get some new tools on how to deal with their teens because that can be really stressful.
I hope so
Very.
too. I hope they found some value and got a few tips here and there, and
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you
Hmm.
so much. And remember, everybody, if you want to reach out to Dr. Carla, all her information is going to be in the show notes, so you'll be able to do that. And don't be shy. Feel free to reach out if you're feeling the nudge. So, thanks everybody for being here on this episode of Women Like Me Stories in Business, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.